We're back for the Cover Price Top 10. This time we're going back 1 year. All right, guys, we're going back 1 year for the Cover Price Top 10. If you're not a part of Cover Price, check the description down below. There is a discount code. I think you get a 2-month free trial run as well. Check that out. Also, everybody watching this, I'm sure you have an eBay account. Find me on eBay, VERYGARY_comics. Mark me as a favorite seller. That way, when I post books on there, you get to see it. And anything else going on with eBay, you get notifications. I get people all the time asking where I sell books. And for the people who don't use Whatnot and aren't located in the Northeast where I do my shows, whether it's New York, Terrificon, KingCon, now you have access to stuff because I will be posting stuff on my eBay store. Again, VERYGARY_comics. That's it. With that, let's get right into this top 10 and start with number 10. I actually really like this book. This is Deadpool #1, the Ken Lashley, The Hall Notorious B.I.G. variant. 1 year ago, this book set the market on fire. Typically, most exclusives over a 1,000 print run will sit at its initial buy-in. Yet this and the Eminem book broke so many rules and buying habits that the market had long established. It had highs of $150 raw and $390 in a 9.8 last year. An important note is that this 9.8 sale was the first to market, which typically always sells for a premium. With so many issues sold, this trend should have died out quickly. However, 1 year later, it's currently trending at a fair market value of $130 for a near mint, $225 in a 9.8. So despite a slight drop, they've held up relatively well, especially raw. So while the numbers tell us this was a bust for raw and graded, we learned that these cross-medium appearances can hold their aftermarket value even with high print runs. I actually have this book in a 9.8. Maybe it sold it at New York. I don't even remember. Let's get to number 9. This is Detective Comics 639. Just as a preface, most of these sales have been labeled as Sonic's first appearance, which is interesting. This issue does contain a promotional 16-page insert of Sonic. However, don't confuse this insert with the 20-page debut of the Speeding Hedgehog. Additionally, this promotional insert was released nearly 2 months after the debut of Sonic the Hedgehog #1, released alongside the Sega Genesis. Yet it does precede the ongoing Sonic series from Archie Comics. 1 year ago, it had highs of $18 raw with no graded 9.8 sales recorded. Now, 1 year later, it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $6 with $140 in a 9.8. So while this is a bust for raw copies, it may still have an opportunity to take a chance on a near mint that you can flip to a 9.8. It's worth the $6 risk, right? That's a huge jump. $6 near mint raw, $140 9.8. I think it's worth the gamble. But again, I say this in a lot of my videos. Take my information with a grain of salt. Don't do what I say. Do your due diligence. Do your research. Don't listen to any one person. Do your research. Let's get to number 8. This is Marvel's Superhero Secret Wars #8. What more is there to say about this mini grail? At this point last year, Marvel Studios had already confirmed that they would release an MCU movie based on the Secret Wars. Additionally, they teased the alien symbiote in Spider-Man No Way Home. All the ingredients were there to make an excellent speculation buy with tons of fuel behind it. 1 year ago, this was trending due to that speculation. It had highs of $219 raw and $725 in a 9.8, which is near the all-time high. 1 year later, while we're waiting any new official information, we're waiting on anything, the rumors and speculations are still thriving. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $188, $600 in a 9.8. So while this book was a bust, compared to last year's prices, both the longevity of this issue and the upcoming MCU drop mean this could be a good opportunity to buy. This is the origin of the symbiote. A lot of people think it's the first appearance. It is not. It is the origin. Let's get to number 7. This is Spider-Man The Lost Years #1. 1 year ago, Hallows Eve debuted and revealed her previous identity, Janine Godby, aka Elizabeth Tyne. While it has been a long time since we saw this character in any significant role, it was clear to see the transformations that made her a deadly threat to the dark web storyline. It had highs of $20 raw, $65 in a 9.8. 1 year later, we know that Marvel has more plans for this character. It's currently trending at a near mint fair market value of $8, $150 in a 9.8. This outcome was a bust for Raws and a boost for Graded. It saw all-time highs at $258 in February of 2023. The Hallows Eve hype train is still going strong and presents an opportunity for collectors and investors to get on board. There seems to be a dip in the fair market value for Raw near mint condition, which means now could be a good favorable time to acquire copies of Hallows Eve at a potentially lower cost than during the peak demand. That was 7. Let's go to 6. This is The Incredible Hulk, number 234. While many speculated about Quasar's appearance in Ant-Man 3, the rumors about Quasar have existed long before 2022. In 2017, James Gunn tweeted a picture of a VCR with a prominent sticker that said Quasar. As some might remember, Gunn posted this while working on the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 script. Is this speculation reaching, or is it perhaps a subtle clue that we will see the character soon? Knowing Gunn's social media habits, it could go either way. 1 year ago, this issue had highs of $70 raw, $535 in a 9.8. 1 year later, we know that the character named Quasar was indeed in Ant-Man 3. But it was not the character we were expecting. The Quasar we got was different from the power set in the comics, but it's worth noting that he only gains his power once he possesses the quantum bands, which the MCU just recently introduced. Yeah. Could this mean we could see more of William Jackson Harper? Could be. I'm screwing this whole thing up, guys. Just bear with me here. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $30 and $214 in a 9.8. This outcome was a big bust for both raw and graded. It's hard to think that Marvel Studios would throw away a recognizable character like Quasar for a one-off appearance. Still, given the Ant-Man and the Wasp box office numbers, there's a chance it will be a long time before another Quasar appearance. I think we need Quasar because I hope deep in my soul that we get an Annihilation story arc. We kind of need Quasar for that one. If I remember correctly, Quasar was... Oh, did he die in that? You know what? It's been a while since I read it. Let's just go to number 5. The Amazing Spider-Man, number 1, the Salvador La Rocha M&M Spotlight, limited to 1,000. You guys know this book. This cover is a nice black and white variant of the original book and was limited to a fifth of the original book's print run. Due to this variant being the more challenging to obtain, we saw slightly less movement than the full color print. However, these books still went for nearly 3.5 times the price of their original full color cover. 1 year ago, it had highs of $808 raw, $2,800 in a 9.8, which was the first to market. On top of that, a 9.9 hit an all-time high of $5,700 in January of 2022. 1 year later, it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $600 and $717 in a 9.8. While those numbers from last year were high, this book did cost $75 and is currently selling at $600. So while it might be a slight drop, we simply cannot call this a bust, especially with the news that Marshall Mathers himself has been releasing signed copies of this version on his online shop. It's not necessarily a surprise that the sales settled from the first to market price, but the slight drop in price showcases that you cannot rely on scarcity alone to uphold aftermarket sales prices. This has been a mess. Thank you guys for sticking around. Let's get to number 4. The Marjorie Finnegan Temporal Criminal, number 1. Woo! 1 year ago, the news of an adaptation sparked a surge in demand for the regular cover and this variant on the collector's market. It had highs of $10 raw, $75 for 9.8. 1 year later, there hasn't been any new updates, and it's currently trending at raw $3. It hasn't recorded a graded sales since. This issue was a bust for raw and graded, and while there are quite a few raw copies in circulation, it doesn't seem to draw any graded attention. It seems this book had its moment, and unless the movie draws significant attention, we may not see much more movement on this, which is why we're not going to talk much about this. Let's go to number 3, which is a little similar to number 4. This is Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal, number 1. This is the Andy Clark. Whenever news breaks, we always see an upward trend in comic books. It is especially true for the more obscure titles on only a few people's radars. However, these obscure storylines make some of the best media. 1 year ago, news of the adaptation for this comic was announced, with director Ruben Fleischer and an unnamed screenwriter already attached to the project. This issue had highs of $20 raw, $60 on a 9.8. 1 year later, we're waiting on updates for the project. It's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $5, $37 in a 9.8, making this a bust for both raw and graded issues, similar to its variant. We may be waiting a while until there is any news that may drive the price of this issue back up. Let's hurry up. Let's get to number 2. We don't need to talk about those ones. Let's get to number 2. This is a little bit better. This is the Amazing Spider-Man number 1, the Salvador Larroca Hustle M&M, limited to 5,000. Whether you're searching for a Spotlight variant or the first print, these books grew past the reach of many modern-day collectors. Marvel recreated the iconic 8 Mile scene with our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, while M&M doesn't appear in the book. Imagining a quick-witted, smart mouth like Spidey going toe-to-toe with the real Slim Shady is fun. 1 year ago, it had highs of $258 raw, $2,500 on a 9.8, which was the first to market. 1 year later, it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $215, $600 for a 9.8, making this a slight bust for raw, major bust for graded. Although there's is another case of prices dropping from the first to market sale, the drop in raw and graded shows that while the hype has stabilized the aftermarket prices, it's unlikely we'll see the same heights for this book. There's no reason why we'll ever see those highs again, but this may hold this value. It's very, very possible. Before we get to number 1, I want to remind everyone, check the description down below. Make sure you use that Covrprice.com discount code. Let's just get to number 1. This is the first 7 days, number 1. This particular issue was a secret release by Bad Idea, solicited under a fake publisher name and promoted through Diamond Distribution with fake information. Once again, this is another exclusive from Bad Idea that sent collectors hunting for the elusive copy of this dystopian storyline. 1 year ago, FOMO took over the market and gave this book enough heat to take a top spot. It had highs of $25 raw, $149 and a 9.8. 1 year later, it's currently trending at a raw near mint fair market value of $12, and most recent 9.8 sale from April of 2023 was $48, meaning this was a bust for both raw and graded. Once again, Bad Idea showcases the ability to make even a bad idea profitable. Guys, don't fall for the FOMO. And that's it for this one. Before we get going, remember to hit that follow button, to subscribe, all that stuff, thumbs up, and come back next time. We're coming back next Wednesday for the next Cover Price Top 10. We're going back, I think we're going back 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. I don't know. I'm not sure. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep it comics.